Oh, tak banyak. Tapi aku dah tekan. Dulu sama. Dah. Good night. Kita start 3.10 kan? Ada apa-apa?
Ini suara kan?
Dengar tak tadi?
Assalamualaikum everyone. A little notice to dearest audience. The program will start soon. For participants who have not yet filled out the Google attendance form, the attendance form can still be done through the link that we have provided in the comment or section below. Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam UITM di hatiku. As today guest speaker, welcoming Cik Nur Hidayah Zamaluddin, Senior Assistant Director, Food Technologies of the Food Safety and Quality Division, Ministry of Health, Food Malaysia Putrajaya. Oh, to my respect, the line of lecture present, the Supreme Council and ESCO this program, as well as the dear attendees. Welcome to the Food Safety Talk webinar program. I'm Cikgu Novara Ain, is a food service and management degree student from the Faculty of Hotel and Tourism as MC of Talk of Today program. Dear audience, let's sing together Negaraku, Wawasan Setia Warga UITM, and followed by a doa. Next, to bless our program this evening, come together we confirm the dua, reading that will be led by Aiman Hakimi Bentazuddin. The Council respectfully welcomes you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalam ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. In the name of Allah, most gracious and most merciful. We gather here today to express our gratitude upon your greatest gift towards us. In conjunction, this webinar of food safety talk, we ask for your help and guidance. Ya Allah, kindly give us strength and courage to face the struggle to find and gain knowledge. Kindly bestow blessings and physical and spiritual health, fitness of mind, peace of mind. In hoping with today's event, hopefully we can gain blessed knowledge. Ya Allah, grant strength to our lecturers and leaders to continue serve for the people, society, nation, and religion. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, Amin, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you, Aiman Hakimi, for your dua just now. Without the speech from the project director, our program today will not be complete. I hereby invite Nur Fatini binti Wan Ismail, as the director of this food safety webinar project, to give a few words. With all due respect, the council welcomes.
Alright, thank you Farah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam bahagia, salam UITM dan Iku. Firstly, Alhamdulillah, we are deeply grateful to Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala because with His abundant grace and permissions, we can gather to make a successful webinar with a title ensuring food safety through quality assurance program. Alright, well done to all parties involved for their commitment in making this webinar a success. This program aims to provide exposure to students, especially students who take and see the subject food safety and quality management (HTF), 480 and food hygiene and sanitation (HTF 211). Alright, today's webinar is a program organized by representative of students in food service management as one of their assignments. Today's program includes a knowledge and experience sharing session from the Senior Assistant Director Food Technology, Food Safety and Quality Division, Ministry of Health, Malaysia KKM, Cik Nur Hidayah binti Jamaluddin, and she is a highly qualified individual in discussion related to our talk today. In relation to that, we are very lucky with Cik Nur Hidayah binti Jamaluddin willingness to attend and share everything from her wisdom. Alright, to the committee involved, directly or indirectly, once again, I say well done and congratulations. Efforts like this are greatly appreciated with infinity gratitude. Not to be forgotten also to Madam Noris Sarah, who is the program supervisor for this project. Without support and guidance, today's webinar could not be launched successfully. Hopefully, this food safety webinar will be a success that will have an impact to all parties involved. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
To the audience, you can press the like button and share our program today to your friends. Also, feel free to leave your comment in the comment section. Liven up our program this evening because of the topic will be delivered by our panel today is a topic that's very interesting. To dearest audience, you are pleased to stay at this webinar until the end of the talk to get the e-certificate by Field Borang AI at the end of the talk of this webinar. For the information to all attendees, this program is intended to provide awareness and knowledge about the food safety. The organization of this program to some extent can help you apply innate life and learning. Alright, our dearest audience. So without wasting any time, I will hand this over to our dearest moderator for today's talk. Ilya Zafira is a food service faculty of hotel and tourism. For further that will be asked with us today. Council welcomes.
Yeah. Hello, dearest audience. Thanks to Farah as the MC today. I am Ilya Zafira Binti Aran as your moderator. All attendees who witness this program live through YouTube Live, you can like and comment to enliven more of our program today. And for participants, please be alert for the Google attendance form. You can QR code that will be provided later. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our webinar today, our webinar panel today. Our speaker will give a talk today. Name is Miss Hidayah binti Jamaluddin. For everyone information, Ms. Hidayah currently works as Senior Assistant Director in Food Technologies of the Food Safety and Quality Division, Ministry of Health, Malaysia, Putrajaya. Here is our panel working experiences. In 2007, Ms. Hidayah worked as technologist in the Food Safety and Quality Division, Ministry of Health, Malaysia. Next, in year 2013, she worked as contributing to the Total Diet Studies book by Springer, New York publisher. And in 2014, she worked as developing the food consumption of Malaysia. Next, we move to her educational background. In 2002, Computer Science Matriculation IKIP College in Kuantan. In 2005, she got her Bachelor of Science honors in Food Science with Business Management at National University of Malaysia. In 2007, she continued studies in Master of Science Food Science National University of Malaysia. Alright, look everyone, after what we heard about Sheikh Hidayah, let us all welcome Ms. Hidayah to give us a speech about today's webinar topic, which is about food safety and quality assurance. Council, welcome. Ms. Hidayah, you may start your talk for first 1 hour, then we will have a short break before we go through another session. Please welcome.
Okay. Assalamualaikum. Selamat petang. Thank you, Ilya. Thank you also, Madam Sarah, for inviting me to this collaborative teaching. Okay. Selamat petang semua. So today my presentation will be mixed in English and Malay. So I believe all of the participants understanding Malay kan? Alright. So we start with my presentation, the Ensuring Food Safety Through Quality Program. Okay, thank you. So what is food safety? What is quality assurance program? So this is the topic that UITM Dungun asked me to deliver to all of you. I'm not the expert person on these things, but I try my best to share my experience, my humble experience in this topics lah, ensuring food safety through quality assurance program. So before we go to the what is quality assurance program, I would like to share with all of you what is food safety. Okay, so next please. Okay, what is food safety? So food safety is actually referring to the practices throughout the food supply chain in order to ensure that food safety to being produced, the safe of food being ensured. Okay, so throughout the processing from the farm to the table, so that we will produce the food that safe to be consumed. So all the practices too that include in the food safety are like handling, processing, slaughtering, cooking, distribution. So all of these practices will contribute to the safety of the food that will be consumed at the end of the day. So of course we want that the contamination level in the food to be as low as possible, or no, none at all. So there's some contaminant we can accept that they are still in the food at a very low level and they didn't cause any harm into our body, into the human body when we consume that food item, such as pesticide kan, pesticide tu in the in sayur, in vegetables, we use pesticide in the farm level to protect the vegetables, the plants. So of course the residue of pesticide too from the farm, of course, can be accumulated in our foods until the level of consumption in the table. Okay, so other than that, food safety also important to ensure that the public health as well as the safety of consumer to being protected. Okay, so that's why food safety ni is very important. So that's why a lot of agencies, stakeholders need to work together in order to ensure these food safety issues. Okay, so next slide please. Okay, I believe that maybe some of you have been studied about this for the foodborne illness causes. There's a lot of causes that can cause the foodborne illness. So we call also hazard, the hazard bahaya substance that can cause foodborne illnesses. We do have the microbiological hazard, we do have the chemical hazard, physical hazard, as well as the others. So for microbiological ni, contoh dia adalah seperti bacteria, microorganism such as Bacillus cereus kan, can cause food poisoning, Staphylococcus aureus, other than that Listeria monocytogenes, and then of course we also have the viruses that can cause foodborne illness. Like of viruses, we do have a lot of type of viruses. However, there are some viruses that can cause foodborne illnesses. It can be transmitted through the food consumption, okay, such as rotavirus, norovirus, okay. And other than that juga, we do have the causes by chemical exposure. Chemical ni, the example such as the environmental contaminants. Environmental contaminants, like I mentioned just now, the pesticide. Because we can't avoid that the use of that pesticide in the farm level. So that's why they enter our food chain and then they maintain to be in the food until the level of consumption. So that's why we can't avoid this chemical to be in our food. However, we do have a few of control measures to ensure that the level of those chemical to at a very low level yang which can't cause any harmful to human. That's why we do have the regulation by the Ministry of Health in order to control of this chemical level in our foods. So other than that, we also have the like a natural toxin such as mycotoxin. It's actually a toxin produced by the fungus ataupun kulat dalam makanan, so they can produce toxin like aflatoxin, mycotoxin that actually can cause the end point is actually if human being exposed to this contaminant, it can cause at the end of the day, it can cause cancerous. It can cause cancer or other maybe failure of organ in our body because of the long-term exposure of this chemical. Okay, so other than that, we also have the environmental processing contaminant, like heavy metal, kan? Well, sometimes because of our environmental is not clean because of the heavy industrial process, so they will impact the level of heavy metals in our food, like a fish in the seawater. So if there's a lot of chemical being thrown into the sea, so there's a possibility of our fish that will be consumed later being exposed to those environmental contaminants. So the heavy metal polluted the sea, and then the heavy metal we entering the fish, and then at the end of the day, we are the one who will consume. So that's why we under the regulation, we also have limit for the level of heavy metal in our food in order to ensure that the food is actually safe to be consumed by us. Okay, so other than that, we also have the physical causes for foodborne illnesses. So the hair, the nails. Okay, so the hair, the nails usually are from the food handlers, food handlers that who are handling the food during processing or during cooking. So there are tendency for them to cross-contaminate the food item. Okay, and then if they don't practice the right the good hygiene practices in the kitchen or in the factory. And then other than that, other physical contamination also involve broken glass, machinery parts, stones. This is all related to machinery or something in the kitchen. So maybe the machine that we use are not maintained as good as possible, so it can be broken, so it can contaminate the food, so it becomes the physical cause for foodborne illnesses. And others are like allergen, okay, GMO, radioactive. So radioactive ni it's like maybe I can share with all of you. Back in 2011, actually, we do have tsunami. Tsunami is actually hits Fukushima. Fukushima is one of the prefecture in Japan during that time. So when the tsunami hits the Fukushima, so because they have the reactor, the radioactive reactor, nuclear reactor nearby the sea during that time, so it's become leakage of the radioactive because of the tsunami hits, and then the radioactive too become contaminated the area of the Fukushima. Then they contaminate as well all the food item that being produced in that prefecture or in that prefecture to like a negeri or daerah, something like that. Okay, so during that time it becomes a food safety issue because those radioactive to contaminate all the food item that being produced, being farmed, being catch nearby the Fukushima area. So during that time, the food started after a few months. The food started to being imported or exported to Malaysia. So it's become a food safety issue lah, because the radioactive level found in the food that being export to Malaysia. So that's a few example of the major foodborne illnesses can cause. All right, so next please. So did you know that due to from the causes that I shared just now, there's more than 2,000 disease that can cause foodborne illnesses. So you can see 2,200 disease can cause food safety issue. So that it's a very big numbers. So that's why it's very important for us to control our food safety in order to ensure the safe of the food as well as to control the number of the disease that can cause through the food consumption. Okay, so next please. So as I mentioned just now, because of the causes being exposed, human being exposed from the causes that I mentioned just now, so it can cause the food poisoning that leads to the food poisoning lah. So this is the symptom of the food poisoning. So if you can see on your left, the picture though. So it's usually if you are human being exposed to the microbiological contaminant, like I mentioned just now, bacteria kan, Salmonella, Bacillus cereus, Staphylococcus, all those things. So usually they will give immediate effect or within few hours to 72 hours. It depends on the bacteria lah being exposed to us. So it can cause nausea, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, headache, fever, dizziness. So I believe that most of us ever experience this food poisoning lah. So usually if you are you feel this kind of symptom, so usually it's actually related to the microbiological contamination. However, for chemical, I mentioned just now there's a few types of chemical hazard that can cause contamination. It's chemical contamination. Usually, we will expose to it at a low level because we control the level though. But however, if you are still exposing to the same level, even though at low level, but at repeatedly at very long time, it actually can cause long-term disease as well. Maybe the symptom is not immediate once you get exposed to it. However, in long term, if you keep on exposing to those chemical contaminant, it can cause cancer or organ failure. But this is for a very long term. So usually for chemical, it take a long term to give effects, safe health effects to the consumer that being exposed. All right. Okay. Next, please. So just to show with you guys the press statement from the Ministry of Health, I can't find the latest one. So the recent one that I found is in 2016. So it shows that to show that the food safety issue that being happen in our country. So there's 78% of the cases yang we found in our country is actually from the school and Ministry of Education institution, like from canteen, from hostel hostel kitchens kan. So because of what? Because of they cook in a mess, in a big volume, so that's why there's a possibility of food poisoning could be happen. And they stated as well almost more than 50% of the cases too big increase compared to 2015. So during that time too the episode of food poisoning become worse during that time. Okay, but from my reading as well recently, but there are some few times during 2017-16 too, the level of the cases being maintained and slightly down because of the control that being in place in the school as well as the other MOE institution. Okay, so then from this statement as well, they mentioned that the factor that cause food poisoning in the school as well as the MOE are like a contaminated raw material. So the canteen use the maybe not so good chicken, the colorish the changes the color of the meat tu pun dah change kan, because usually the meat tu should be in red color, but sometimes maybe they bought in a bulk in a mass volume, so sometimes maybe there's some not so good in condition lah meats tu, so that's why it can cause food poisoning lah at the end of the day. So other than that, the cross contamination maybe during the preparation in the school canteen or in the hostel kitchen tu. So maybe the food handler did not practice a good hygiene practice. So maybe they didn't wear a proper hat, they didn't wear the mask, so all those things can cross contamination, or maybe juga they use the same what we call the papan pemotong tu, same for raw material as well as the end product, food which being already cooked, they use the same. So there's a possibility of cross contamination could happen. And other than that, the long holding time, sometimes the food that already been cooked can be contaminated back. The cross contamination could happen tau, because of long holding time. Back in 2009, I think, Ministry of Health has conducted a study. So we want to see the status of nasi goreng, fried rice in school hostel, in the hostel kitchen. So during that time, we found that there's a big difference on the microbiological load in food, fried rice too, in two different way of how they cook the white rice too. Because if you want to prepare the fried rice, we have to cook the white rice first, right? So there's a two actually practices among school hostel kitchen in Malaysia. One, they cook the white cooked rice too a night before, and then they hold it until morning, then they cook it. Then there's another practices is the one that cook immediately, and then after that cook the white rice, and after that directly cook the fried rice. So it showed that the different of level of Bacillus cereus into both different practices too, and it shows that the one that cook at night before containing slightly higher lah Bacillus cereus in the white rice too. So you see the white rice already contaminated because of long time of holding itu kan. So the Bacillus cereus too could growth back, and then it can cause food poisoning lah if we don't cook, if we don't control it after that. So that's why long holding time too also can be a factors of the food poisoning as well. And even after that, after they cooking, sometimes kan they before they serve to the students kan, they put it in on the like a table ke, without control the suhu, and then they don't cover the food. So all those things also can cause the cross contamination. All right. And other than that, of course lah, improper temperature. Definitely we know that even though we already cook that food, we have to control the temperature, because we know that microorganism especially, their optimum growth, they can grow rapidly at the room temperature. Okay, room temperature. So that's why Ministry of Health advise not to eat the food, not to hold the food more than 4 hours if you are store it at the what we call room temperature. Okay, so next please. So other than that, I also find some food safety news that the status of food poisoning in Malaysia. So partly, of course, it's also it's caused because of our climate condition lah. So our hot and humid ni can promote the what we call the growth of the microbiological. So that's why it can cause food safety issue as well as food poisoning. And other than that, also we do have a lot of cuisine fishes kan, the various raw ingredient in our country. So the mixture of those raw ingredient in controls, all those things, it also can lead to the spoilage, repeat the spoilage of our food lah, our raw ingredient especially, because I mentioned just now, bad raw ingredient will result in bad food that being consumed by the human. Okay, then after that, from this report as well, show that Bacillus cereus and Staphylococcus aureus are the most common food poisoning agents in our country. Because why? Because Bacillus cereus and Staphylococcus, this is actually ubiquitous. It's actually it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it can. When I said it's everywhere, in the soil, in the human hand. So if you are not practicing a good practice, then there's a possibility for cross-contamination, and it can cause food, it can contaminate our food, and at the end of the day, it can cause food poisoning. Alright, so that's why Bacillus cereus and Staphylococcus ni are the most common agent for food poisoning in Malaysia. So maybe the critical factor as well, this one is very specific. The previous one specific in hospital, in school canteen, and this one is overall study. So it's specific for poor pest control measure. So definitely, you imagine in your kitchen kan, your pest control, if you're not controlling your pest controls, and you can see the rat run in front of your face in your kitchen. So it's, of course, definitely it's not a good hygiene practices, and it can cause cross contamination lah to our food. So that's why pest control is very important in order to ensure the safe of food in our kitchen. All right. So other than that, cross-contamination lah, same as before, especially during handling as well as transportation, delivery of raw and the cooked food, okay? And other than that, inadequate control lah of the manufacturing, especially the temperature control as well as the storage condition. So this is at the level of kilang, factory, food manufacturer. So that's why this is very important to control those temperature, time, the area, then the what we call the sanitation of those storage condition in order to produce safe food in our country. Okay, so next please. Okay, this is some, maybe I share with you guys the key facts of the food safety to show that how bad is actually the issue on the food safety worldwide. This is actually from World Health Organization, WHO. So WHO is actually our reference body for the health as well as the food safety in the world. So they come up with the key facts of food safety. It shows that 600 million of the people fall ill or fall ill after eating contaminated food, which means 1 out of 10 people in the world facing food poisoning yearly, and almost more than 400,000 die every year because of food poisoning. So it's a very serious issue, very big number here. So that's why WHO and other food safety authority need to take what we call urgent action lah to control food safety because of this figure or this number. And from this key fact also shows that we lost 100 billion USD each year in productivity as well as medical expenses. Of course lah, if there's a food poisoning, right? So there's a cost on the medical because we want to treat the person, kan? And then in the productivity pula, sometimes because of the food spoilage, so we have to discard, we have to throw all the food. So it's a loss in our productivity. So that's why food safety issues ni, it can not only health burdens but also our socio-economic as well. All right. So, and other than that, the children under 5 years lah, the one that being affected most because of what? Because of they are the vulnerable group, the sensitive group compared to the adults, kan? Because they are very young, so the body maybe can't adapt with the contamination that happened to them due to the food that being consumed. So that's why children under 5 tu is the most population yang can cause food poisoning. Alright, so next please. So as I mentioned just now, kan, so the outbreaks of foodborne illnesses, the food safety issue can be burden to our healthcare system. So of course, because of the when people get sick, so the healthcare need to what we call to rawat them to ensure they are safe because of those food poisoning symptom, kan? So because when you are getting the food poisoning too, sometimes you will you will throwing non-stop, and then you got diarrhea. So of course we have to treat yourself. So it will, but then our healthcare system, and other than that, it also can damage our trade lah. Okay, sometimes because if other country know that your country is not controlling the food safety, your country is not taking so much care on your food safety, so definitely other country won't export your product, kan? Because they don't trust your food safety product, so they won't buy anything from you. Even on tourism as well, have you ever heard that sometimes, kan, if you want to go for traveling, sometimes we can hear some people say, oh, I don't want to go to India lah, I don't want to go to Indonesia because I'm afraid that I get the food poisoning, because if I eat the food from the hawkers ke, kan, they can cause food poisoning, so that's why I don't want. So that's actually the stigma being given to the country, that sorry to say that the people don't trust the food safety control there. So that's why we don't want that to be happen to our countries. Therefore, we need to ensure that the food safety that being produced in our country is safe. Okay, and it's not the authority or the Kementerian Kesihatan responsible only, but it's all everyone responsibility. Okay, I will share with you guys after this as well. And of course, the food spoilage too, because if the food already being contaminated, of course we need to throw it lah. Ada ke orang nak makan bila kita dah tahu produk tu makanan dah basi? Sometimes you can smell your food, kan? You smell before you eat tu, you smell, bau masam lah. So ada ke orang yang nak proceed to eat that kind of food, kan? So usually you will throw it away. So it's a kerugian lah, ekonomi punya issues lah dekat situ. So of course it can cause adverse effect to the trade as well as consumer confidence. Sometimes consumer confidence ni macam sometimes in the kedai makan, kan, in restaurant, sometimes, bukan sometimes lah, usually when we went to one restaurant ke cafe, and maybe we ourselves or our friend or someone that we know that go to the same restaurant and get food poisoning after they went to that restaurant. So definitely after that we won't trust that restaurant anymore, right? So because we will have a stigma that, oh, this food this restaurant not good in preparing the food, that can cause food poisoning. So if the words become viral, said then not a good news lah to the kedai, kan. So that's why the restaurant, the cafe, the manufacturer definitely have to ensure the food safety, the food being safe to be eat, in order to get the consumer confidence, the consumer trust. Okay, so next please. Okay, so of course the increasing of globalization of food trade, changing consumption pattern, as well as this all increasing travel, tourism, all those things can impact our food safety lah, because of the increasing travel and tourism, because we know everyone is traveling right now, kan. So there's a possibility actually the microorganism too from other country as well traveling together with us now. So that's why maybe before this, that kind of microorganism is not here, it's not in Malaysia, but however because of the traveling, it's same lah, like a COVID cases as well. Before this is not here, right? But because of the people who are traveling, because dunia tanpa sempadan, so it can cause the microbe also being traveling together. So that's why those issues too can impact on the food safety as well as our health lah. Okay, so therefore, because of all those things yang saya share with all of you guys just now ni, so therefore there's a urgency for effective hygiene control, because this is a fundamental necessary in order to avoid the adverse of human health as well as the economy lah, because kita tahu kan the two things tadi, health as well as the economic burden, in order to in order to avoid those adverse of human health as well as the economic consequences lah. So we want to avoid those foodborne illness, foodborne injury, as well as the food spoilage. So everyone, including lah from farm, because we know that food supply chain, when I said food supply chain, like for chicken, it's from the farm to the slaughtering house, to the kilang, to the manufacturer, and then to the restaurant or to the pasar, until at the end of the day, until to the consumer. So consumer ni can consume food tu kan, whether from they bought it directly from retail, from pasar, or they consume it in restaurants. So that's what we call food supply chain. So everyone in this food supply chain are responsible to ensure that the food is safe and suitable, fit for human consumption. So it's everyone work, because if the farmer not doing the work in order to ensure the food, the chicken to being safe, so then there's a problem for the other stakeholders or person in the food supply chain to ensure that the food become spoilage ataupun ada food safety issue lah. Alright, so everyone, including us, because we are the one who are preparing the food at home. Okay, so if you are working in the manufacturer or restaurant, of course, definitely you are responsible to prepare a safe food. But however, as a human as well, human who are eating every day, so we are also responsible to ensure the food that we are cook today is safe as well. So it's everyone, all of us. Okay, next please. So food safety is everyone's business. So this is actually the theme that being used for our World Food Safety Day, actually back in 2019, is our first the WHO, actually World Health Organization, organized World Food Safety Day for 2019 with the theme of food safety is everyone's business. So that's why I think these words is actually very impactful, very, very meaningful for us, that to show that the importance of food safety in the world, in our country as well. Okay, next please. And of course, the food safety is a collective effort from the all member of the food supply chain, just like I mentioned just now, kan? All right. Okay, next please. Okay, so I mentioned just now, there's a lot of people being involved in the food safety, right? So from the farmer until the consumer. So, but in this case, in the food safety perspective, we have three main, I said main, so main. So the one that I will share with you today will involve only these three stakeholders. The main stakeholders that involve, that responsible to ensure the safety of the food being produced in our country. So the first one is the consumer. Who is consumer? All of us. All of you, me as well. Madam Sarah as well. So all of us are the consumer of the for the food safety, that we responsible to the food safety that being consumed in our house, our country. All right. So the consumer. And the second one is the industry. Okay, we know that the industry usually will involve whether the one who are manufactured the food, which means the kilang lah, the kilang makanan, the factory that producing the food, as well as the food premises, which are the restaurant, cafe, what we call food truck. So all those people who are preparing the services lah, food services, the term that you use, food service kan. Okay, so that's what we are considering as industry in the food safety. And the last one is the authority. So the authority is the one that responsible to ensure that all stakeholders are complying with the food safety requirement, as well as the authority also need to verify, to conduct all those activity in order to ensure that food safety issue being in place in our country. All right, so next slide, please. Okay, we go to the consumer first. So we know that consumer plays a very important role in food safety. Of course, we are what we eat, so we should know what we eat. So we should be concerned on the food that we consume to ensure that the food that we consume to is safe. So that's why sometimes under food safety and quality division, usually we will advise people the basic one. We do have a lot of advice actually. You can go to food safety and quality division website. So there's a lot of like a infographic, educational, promotional items that you can see on the food safety issue, how to practice the food safety in your life. But I mean, I think the most simple one that maybe I can share with you is to apply tiga. Lihat, hidu, rasa. Lihat, hidu, rasa is that mean before you want to eat kan, so before you want to eat, so if you can, sometimes we have a gut feeling tau, makanan ni okey ke tak kan, so we can use our sense lah. So lihat, sometimes because sometimes the food tu yang food yang dah tak elok ni, sometimes we can see from our eyes kan, sometimes they become berlendir, sometimes the color pun dah changes. So that's why mata lihat is very important. And then hidu, sometimes mungkin you can't see from your eyes, but sometimes you can smell ni. Sometimes kan nasi, perasan tak, nasi or lauk pauk Melayu especially kan, santan, so sometimes dia punya rupa tu macam still okay, but then bila you try to smell it, then you can smell some macam bau masam or bau basi. So that's why it's very important to use our eyes and nose to take to see, to assess the food that we are going to consume tu. And other than that, we can use our lidah lah, our taste bud to rasa. But usually kalau kita tengok dah macam berlendir that food tu kan, dah tak rasa nak letak kat lidah dah kan. So that's how we advise people in the simplest way in order to avoid those food poisoning lah. Alright, so next please. Okay, so consumer ni has their rights lah. So usually consumer ni, they have a right to expect the food yang they purchase tu are safe and high quality. So therefore, it's a responsibility of industry as well as the authority to ensure that the food being produced for consumer to be consumed is safe. Especially in the retail lah kan, in the retail yang the food that will expose to the consumer. So that's why authority and industry need to ensure the safe of the food that being sold in our retail. Okay, so because consumer nowadays, they dah become exposed to, because we know that dunia tanpa sempadan ni lah, so we have a lot of information in internet, in the Facebook, WhatsApp, viral, all those things kan. So the more information the consumer get, the more exposed them to food safety news tu, they can cause major impact, major demand by the consumer tu. So they feel like, I don't want to eat this because I read that okay, maybe I can share with you guys one of the latest I read in my Facebook. Actually, my friend shared. They said that there's a two type of kulit kayu manis cinnamon roll tu. Cinnamon roll, kulit kayu manis tu kan, cinnamon. So there's two types. So one tu palsu, dia kata, fake one. So as a food safety officer, usually I won't trust it directly lah. So I will do some what we call research ke, some finding kan. So at the end of the day, that we found that because sometimes yang menulis viral ni not as someone that with food science background pun. Sometimes maybe they macam read somewhere sana sikit, they come up with the conclusion, tapi maybe they are someone yang influencer, so people tend to percaya kan. So but as a food safety officer, so usually I will do some research kan. So actually it's not fake pun, tapi it's actually the because one tu dia, kalau you tengok kan kulit kayu manis tu, satu tu dia macam bergulung cantik kat dalam. Dia bergulung macam cantik macam tu. Satu lagi tu dia macam bulat macam tu je, dia macam tebal. So the difference is actually from different kayu and negara asal benih cinnamon tu je pun. So that's the variability and varieties of cinnamon yang ada pun dalam dunia ni. So bukanlah sebabkan dia palsu ke tak palsu ke, macam tu lah. So tapi we can resist that those information, those easily exposed information tu can cause demand on our consumer right. So that's why the more demand consumer, the more work industry as well as the authority have to work lah. Alright, so next please. So this is just some information lah. Consumer perception on food safety tu usually will be influenced by, of course, their kalau socio-economic characteristic tu, age, gender, education level, income kan. And then of course lah, bila makin tua, maybe makin bijak sikit untuk menapis ataupun membuat pilihan on the food safety. Sometimes education level also influence kan. So maybe lagi tinggi, the higher the level of education tu, they become more conscious, concern on their food that being consumed. Okay, level of income pun also influence the level of their perception about food safety. And of course the cognitive aspect lah, macam I just mentioned just now, the knowledge, okay, the risk perception, the previous experience with food safety incident. Kan sometimes bila we have some experience of food poisoning by consuming kerang, so after that one experience tu, sometimes we become berhati-hati, ataupun kita takut for next time untuk makan kerang lagi. So all those experience tu, we create our perception into kerang. Lepas ni kata, nampak kerang je, jangan makan kerang, takutlah. So sebenarnya bukan salah kerang, yang salah tu our handling. Okay, alright, so don't simply salahkan makanan lah. So because usually the food poisoning issue too is not from that food but from our handling. Okay, and other than that is other situational factors lah, price, place of purchase, as well as traceability. Okay, next please. Okay, so we finish with the consumer. So we go to the industry. So one of the main stakeholder as well in the food. So I mentioned just now, we have a very demanding consumer now. So therefore, food industry have to work more. So their primary responsibility is to ensure the food that being supplied or produced to safe and nutritious lah for human consumption. Because we can say that the food that is not safe to eat is not a food. We can't call the food that is not safe to a food. Let's say you cook barbecue or satay kan, so you cook it overcook lah sampai dah rentung, dah terlupa, tertinggal, sibuk piknik ke mandi sungai, so it become rentung, become ni. So are you still can call it barbecue or chicken, grilled chicken or ayam bakar ke macam tu kan. So you can't call it food anymore because of it is not safe to eat. So janganlah pergi. Tapi itulah kadang-kadang ada juga orang macam saya tengok, dia kata apa, lagi rentung ni lagi sedap. Tapi it's not a good thing lah. It's not safe and nutritious anymore because it's already burnt. So it can cause, it actually can produce other processing contaminant as well. Macam kalau ayam bakar tu, the more rentung it is, it's actually containing high level of, I can say, polyaromatic hydrocarbon. It's a processing contaminant that being formed because of the lemak of the fat pyrolysis, we call it pyrolysis process. The fat in the chicken tu being exposed with direct flame from the barbecue tu, so it can cause pah lah kalau yang dah rentung sangat tu, macam tu, in a high level of those contamination, so it's not safe actually, right? And for maybe just for information, pah tu is actually one of the carcinogenic substance. It's actually, if you are being exposed to it in very long time, frequently, so it's actually can cause cancerous. All right. Okay. So next, please. So as I mentioned just now, when we are talking about food industry, it's actually from farm to fork, farm to table. Okay. Or a food system chain include everything, every person from farm to the table. So the one that we'll be talking today is the one in packaging, processing, distribution too. Okay, so therefore they are the one who are responsible to ensure the food safety along the way through good hygienic practices. All right, next please. So this is just a conclusion of the responsibility of industries lah. So this is actually more focused on the I can say on the both lah, on the manufacturer as well as the restaurant and food services premise. Okay, so of course, first thing first, they have to know the national food safety law. Ministry of Health has a lot of regulation, national laws for them to being followed in order to ensure that the food that being produced is safe. Okay, so that's why the industry need to know the law as well as to implement it lah. Not only know, only know je tapi tak implement pun tak boleh kan. So they have to implement the law that being guided, that being established by the authority. And other than that, they have to ensure the plant layout lah, the kilang punya plant layout or the restaurant punya plant layout tu as per food safety norms. That's mean the setting up or the plant layout tu need to take into consideration if it can cause cross contamination. Let's say kan they have to apa panggil not cross contamination, it can cause macam accumulation of kotoran. Contoh, sometimes ada kilang makanan, they have the small drain in their factory kan, but somehow if that drain tu is difficult to be clean, so then it's not suitable for the food industries to use that kind of drain. So that's why they have to ensure that the plant layout that they establish for their premises to ensure to avoid any food and to avoid any causes that can cause food safety issue. Okay, and of course they have to maintain their hygiene lah. They have to have their cleaning schedule. Okay, how many times to clean kan? But some apa? Lepas tu they have to have the sanitation schedule as well, bila nak basuh, bila nak cuci. Sometimes kan, ni maybe to share with you guys lah, sometimes yang issue dia kedai 24 hours ni kedai makan 24 hours kan, so sometimes I wonder juga as a person kan, bila actually they clean their outlet or premises actually, because they are working 24/7 kan. So, but it's okay lah, it's up to them lah how to maintain. Just make sure if there's some authority from PBT or KKM come in, so they have to be ready lah to show us the hygiene practices that being hygiene practices in place. Okay, so that's the one of the responsibility of the industry. And other than that, to ensure food safety management implementation lah. So this is actually the one that I'll be sharing after this, the quality assurance program. Okay, food safety management implementation. And after that, food safety culture. So that's mean that's actually the culture in the that premises that show that they are actually practicing and they understand what is food safety all about. So that's very important, because without this food safety culture, definitely that premises or industry can't produce the food that is safe for human consumption. Okay. So, and then of course they have to know what is happening lah in the world, because sometimes if the industry ni, this is for kilang makanan, if they want to export their product to the other country, so they have to know lah other country regulation kan. So in order for them to be allowed to export their product to the other country. Okay. And of course to ensure zero complaint lah. So this is very important as well. This is the one that I mentioned just now, relate to the apa tadi, consumer trust, consumer confidence kan. Definitely we want industry that has zero complaints. So that's mean that they produce something's good, something's premium, something with high quality and safe. So that's why they don't have any complaints anymore at all. Okay. So other than that, they have to responsible to have SOP and work instruction lah. This is actually because we know that human working in that kilang or premises usually is human, right? So we tend to sometimes forget about the instruction kan. Sometimes in like in the kitchen pun, sometimes macam we know that after pergi toilet, keluar toilet, you have to wash your hand, and sometimes you can't touch your face ke with your bare hands kan masa masak tu. Tapi kadang-kadang when secara in reality sometimes maybe you panic ke busy ke macam nak cepat, so sometimes we tend to forget all the knowledge, the information on the food safety too. So that's why I think the SOP, the work instruction too, is very important. The training pun also very important to remind from time to time for the industry in order to apply the food safety good practices in the premise lah, so whether the kilang manufacturer ataupun in the restaurant. Okay, so that's the responsibility of the industry to ensure the food safety being produced. Okay, next please. Okay, so the last one, the third stakeholder, this is where I belong to actually, but not anymore. I take a break for 3 years. Okay, so so this is the Food Safety and Quality Division, Bahagian Keselamatan dan Kualiti Makanan. So we are the authority body for food safety in Malaysia. So we work actually based on the responsibility of tripartite management system. So tripartite ni maksudnya three party. So three party tadi itulah trade, industry, consumer, dan juga kita lah Kementerian Kesihatan. So we do lot of activities that involve in food safety in order to ensure the safe of food lah being produced in our country. So we do have the food standards here. We develop our food standard, Akta Food Act 1983, and we do have food regulation 1985 under the Food Act. So under that Food Act also we have a lot of food hygiene regulation as well. So we do have a few regulation lah under that our food standard. So we establish food standard and what we call upgrade it, review it from time to time based on the new technology, new information lah. Alright. So we do have the pensijilan and pelayanan, certification and licensing. So this is actually the one that will relate to the quality assurance program that I will just share after this. So it's a certification. Both certification and licensing is actually the program that being organized by the Kementerian Kesihatan, by FSQD, in order to guide and again to give the guideline to the industry in order to fulfill the requirement for the food safety based on our food standard tadi. Okay, and other than that, we also have food penguatkuasaan, enforcement and surveillance. So enforcement is actually to we know that we actually trust the industry doing the right things, produce the safe food. However, as an authority, we have to verify what are they doing, because sometimes kan same lah, you belajar pun sometimes you have to have exam, and then lecturer we check all your assignments, all those things lah. So we have to someone to to check ourselves in order to know that are we doing in the right way or in the wrong way. So that's what we are doing lah. We trust the industry, but somehow in the enforcement and audit, we are do the verification of those certification and licensing. And other that, we also do the promosi keselamatan makanan. Just I mentioned just now, we do have a lot of infographic, okay, educational promotional items in our website. So you can see there. So it's for consumer ada, for apa panggil, for industry ada, for other all stakeholders pun ada dekat situ. So you can go and check lah. Okay, and then you can go to our Facebook as well, Food Bahagian Keselamatan dan Kualiti Makanan. Bukanlah nak puji, tapi good lah. There's a few information there, so you can have a look lah. And other than that, we also have the laboratory services. This one is to provide any apa panggil laboratory lah, analysis of our food, the level of microbiological, the level of chemical in the food that being involved lah in our enforcement ke, in certification. Okay, and also we have the IFSTC lah. This is the training center, because I mentioned just now kan, the training is very important to give from time to time the information, the latest news ke, regarding food safety to other countries. So this IFSCC actually organized the training not only for the our person, our Kementerian Kesihatan punya personnel, so but also for the industry as well as the university person as well. Okay, so next please. So this is our main responsibility, BKKM main responsibility. First, to protect the public health, and the second one to facilitate the trade. So facilitate the trade ni to facilitate the industry tadi lah. So we do have three. So that's what we are referring to, the tripartite management system that I mentioned just now. KKM to protect the public health as well as to facilitate the trade. So we play with three, and that's why my talk also will be on these three stakeholders. Okay, so the main three stakeholders involved in food safety. Okay, next please. So this is for sharing certification. So the one that I will share with you guys after this is the Mesti one, Mesti, GMP, HACCP, and BEST. This is 4 certification that are related to quality assurance program that being organized by Kementerian Kesihatan. Okay, next please. And maybe can go back to the previous slide. Okay. Okay, no lah. Okay, next please. Okay, so just I mentioned just now, the enforcement program too is to ensure those food safety assurance program, those activity licensing being conducted by the industry are reliable, are correct, in order to produce the safe food lah. So that's why we are doing this enforcement and audit. Next please. So as I mentioned now, this is our tagline juga lah. So we trust, but we verify. So this is very important, because as an authority, we have to trust them to do their work, and other than that, we will verify. But we won't verify everything. Okay, we will only verify we do have the schedule. So maybe there are some manufacturer too. Once a year ke, twice a year ke, it depends on the ni lah. We do have the criteria on how to select those activity in order to verify the program of food safety in the manufacturer ataupun kedai makan, food premises. Alright, so next please. So that's all about ensuring food safety. So dah sejam I've been talking about what is food safety. So I hope that you guys get the good idea what is food safety all about, who are responsible in food safety, why food safety is very important in our life. Okay, so for the next half of this presentation, I will focus on quality assurance program. So one of the program under food safety ni to ensure the food safety. So this quality assurance program ni will be focused on the industry, because the industry yang will conduct this quality assurance program. So before we break, maybe I can give some a brief what is quality assurance program. Okay, next please. So what is quality assurance? Quality assurance. Next, please. So quality assurance ni is actually quality or safety assurance lah. It can be both. Quality assurance ni dia kind of general worldwide punya statement, but in context of food safety, it's also referring to safety assurance. So it can be both lah. It's actually documented proactive set of measure that aim. So there's satu system with a documented process ataupun procedure that aim to ensure the safe of the food as well as to prevent a defect. I mean, they want to eliminate any unnecessary things during the processing stage. So one document that have a step or procedure to ensure the product that being produced to safe and high quality, and at the same time they want to eliminate or prevent any hazard or defects during that processing. So that's what quality assurance is all about. All right. Okay, next please. So function of quality assurance, of course lah, we want to maintain the standard specification kan, to give the service to the company untuk mudah for any troubleshooting. Sebab because I mentioned just now, it's a documented document, right? So if you document your processing, you have all records in place, so it's easier for you to do any troubleshooting to evaluate your performance, okay? Because you have something yang structured, you have something recorded, so you can easily do analysis kan, to produce information as well. That one will be the accurate, reliable, as well as educate information in your system lah, because of this quality assurance system yang structured, well documented. Okay, next please. So the needs for quality assurance, of course lah, I just mentioned just now, industry need this quality assurance system, assurance program because of customer expectation, high demand of the customer. So that's why they need this quality assurance, and then environmental concern as well nowadays by the consumer. So therefore they need this quality assurance to ensure that they fulfill the requirement in order to protect the environment. Okay. And then other than that, because of the new technology, so they need this quality assurance to ensure that those emerging technologies are not affect the food safety. Okay, so sometimes because we afraid that this rapidly increase of new technology ni sometimes maybe can produce another hazard or food safety issue in our country. And also the regulatory requirements. So it's actually a requirement under our regulation to have quality assurance program in the manufacturing premises. Okay, next please. This is general principle of quality assurance, fit for purpose. So they need to do the quality assurance system too, which are suitable for the intended purposes or specific food item that being produced. And of course, it need to be right at the first time, because we want to eliminate and we want to avoid those mistakes or defects that I mentioned just now. Okay, next please. So under the food hygiene regulation, I mentioned just now kan, food hygiene regulation 2009. So all food premises, this is actually referring to manufacturing premises, kilang makanan, shall have food safety assurance program or food quality assurance program. Since this is the minimum requirement under the food hygiene regulation. So semua kilang makanan di Malaysia kena ada food safety or food quality assurance program. Wajib. Okay? So next please. So program jaminan, tu bahasa Melayu dia lah, program jaminan keselamatan makanan. So skim persejilan oleh Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia adalah untuk menjamin, to ensure food safety in Malaysia. So ianya diwujudkan bagi membantu industri lah. So kita bangunkan this program to ensure company can comply with this minimum requirement of having food safety assurance program ni, in order to produce safe food lah untuk pengguna. Alright, so next please. Okay, so this is the one that I showed just now kan. So the certification schemes related to the Food Safety Assurance Program under the Ministry of Health Malaysia. So we do have MESTI, Makanan Selamat Tanggungjawab Industri. We do have the GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices, HELSEP, as well as the BEST. Okay, so this is the four. Okay, next please. Okay, I think already 1 hour kot kan. So let's take a break and kita akan main quizzes after. Okay, we will have the quiz after this. So I will pass the apa panggil the floor to Ilya. Ilya just now. And before that, maybe I can share with all of you guys also the top 3 pemenang for this quiz. I will give you some hadiah, some not so expensive lah, just small token. You can claim from Madam Sarah nanti, okay? Alright, I pass back to Ilya for the session.
Alright, thank you, Miss Daya, for. Right, thank you, Ms. Daya, for the session just now. Before we start our quiz, let me summarize a few that I get from the talk before. So firstly, we need to make sure that we keep the food safety to prevent ourselves from foodborne disease during handling, processing, and not to forget during distribution of the food. And so we need to be aware that foodborne illness can be caused by microbiological, physical, chemical, or others such as allergen or radioactive. Little that we know, actually more than 200 diseases can be spread by food. In fact, so many cases related to food poisoning happen at some Ministry of Education institution, and not to forget school. Everyone need to always alert when it comes to food safety, starting from the consumer itself, the food industry, and of course the authority. For example, for the industry, food safety can go through the quality assurance. So quality assurance needed to maintain standard and specification for all raw materials till the final product, also to evaluate whether the food has reached a specified requirement for customer. To know a product is safe to eat, you can always look at the packaging and seek for those logos such as MESTI, GMP, HELSEP, and not to forget BEST. Alright, everyone? We are what we eat. Now we continue the session with some quizzes that have been prepared by Miss Hidayah through quizzes. Whoever just like Miss Hidayah said, whoever get the highest score will get a reward from her. All students can open the quiz through the link that we have provided in the comment section. Alright, thank you for all students that have been participating on the quizzes just now. And congratulations to the one who's winning. Again, everyone, please be alert with the attendance form that will be provided at the end of the session. Alright, Miss Hidayah, you may continue the session back. Please welcome.
Okay, thank you Ilya. Congrats kepada yang menang. So you can claim your small tokens lah from myself, from Madam Sarah nanti The tiga pemenang tadi. I can't see who is the winner, but you know yourself, so you can go to Madam Sarah lah. Alright, so please bear with me. Saya tahu dah almost pukul 5 petang, so critical time actually. Dah ngantuk kan? And the topic after this pun a bit dry sikit lah. So please bear with me lah. Alright, so we do have another 33 slide lagi. Okay, so next please. Okay, so this is the one that I showed just to you just now kan, certification scheme yang related to food safety assurance program. So I will share with you guys for the first three dulu, because this is actually the one who involved with the what we call manufacturer, kilang makanan. So we have Mesti, GMP as well as HACCP. So Mesti is the most recent one. We target the SME, small medium enterprise, and it is free. Percuma, we also provide coaching as well. KKM will coach will facilitate the industry, the SME, in order to establish this Mesti food safety assurance program. And after that, we do have the implementation. If you see the slide tu kan, they're going up kan. So actually, Mesti tu the most minimum requirement. So and then GMP tu atas sikit from the Mesti, and HACCP tu consider level premium lah for this food safety assurance program Okay, and then for GMP tu they implemented in 2007 by MOH. But this certification GMP and HACCP ni is actually being offered juga by other private company as well. But sometimes when the company want to, the food manufacturer want to export their product, usually the other country too will request the GMP HACCP from the authority of the country. So not from the pihak swasta, private company. Okay. So and then the fee being imposed for the GMP. And the HACCP from implemented in 1998, the most senior one lah. So based on demand, and fee dia ada juga lah, fee imposed. So it depends on the size of the company as well as the food item that being applied for this certification. So for HACCP and for GMP and Mesti, the certification will be based on the premises. That's mean when we come up with the certification of this both GMP and Mesti, the certification will be given to the premises, the address of those premise that apply. Different with the HACCP, the certification will be based on the food item and process. Let's say the region food produce ketchup and sauce chili sauce. So the HACCP certification only for the ketchup and chili sauce. Even though they have other food item, but they can't use the logo of HACCP on the other food item, even produced in the same premises. So that's the difference between GMP and Mesti. As well with the HACCP certification. And other than that, GMP and HACCP ni, it based on demand. It's what we call voluntary. So voluntary because the minimum requirement for food safety assurance program is covered under Mesti. Kan I mentioned just now is the minimum requirement for food safety assurance program has been covered by Mesti. So if you already have mesti, then you already comply with the regulation. So JMP dengan HACCP ni, it's you do more lah. So that's why I said just now it's a voluntarily. Tapi because of course sebab mesti ni being recognized in Malaysia only, but JMP and HACCP being recognized all over the world. So that's the difference lah. Okay. So next please. So this is the introduction for mesti. What is mesti? I mentioned just now, makanan selamat tanggungjawab industri. This certification actually kita aim untuk SME because of the difficulties of SME ni to fulfill food safety assurance program. Because the requirement for food safety assurance program ni we endorse in our food hygiene regulation in 2009. So during that time it's quite difficult lah for those SME ni because they don't have quality assurance person specific doing that QA, QC kan. So that's why we come up with this program in order to facilitate the company to have the program the food safety assurance program in place in their company. So that's why I say that mesti ni is actually the minimum requirement of food safety assurance program. Right? So previously known as One Malaysia Food Safety Scheme, skim keselamatan makanan satu Malaysia. Kan dulu-dulu kan dia memang suka yang satu Malaysia tu kan. So that's why after a few years kita rebranding tukar kepada mesti. Alright, so it's very easily achievable because it's a very minimal requirement based on our food hygiene regulation, so that just to ensure that the food provided tu is safe inside Malaysia. It's only recognized in Malaysia je mesti ni. Alright, so it's free, no fee imposed. I mentioned just now. Okay, I mentioned just now. Okay, Madam Sarah dah tegur saya tadi. Cakap I mentioned just now. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so this is the element that will be used in order to give the to recognize manufacturer for this mesti certification. So of course we will the company have to have the control on the design and facility. So because of we want to know the location of the place, the location tu tak impose any food cross contamination. Kan sometimes the food industry ni dia punya location tu pun kat area yang very not clean kan, so it can cause food safety issues. So that's why for this mesti certification we will look into their location, layout, equipment and hardware that we're using. So of course they have to have the very good well maintenance of their equipment, hardware kan, sebab we know that this equipment and hardware can also contribute to the food safety issue as well, because if you are not well maintained, especially those equipment yang directly touch to the food, it can cause contamination. Okay, and then of course they have to know the sources of the water, ice, steam supply. They are from the reliable sources. They have a good facility for wash basin. So this is for the hygienic lah kan, so untuk basuh tangan. And then has a proper toilet, and then in a good condition toilet, as well as the changing area room, and then they have a very good control of storage area. So I just mentioned just now, this quality assurance program need to be documented kan. So all these checklist ni, they have to have documented information as well as record. So they have to, whether they have to check every day their storage area, they have to verify the cleanliness of the toilet changing room area every day ke, every 2 days ke, it depends on them lah. So but they have to document all the process or all the work that being done in order to ensure the design and facilities ni are in a good place and didn't cause any cross-contamination or safety issue to the food product. Okay, and other than that, they have also they need to also have a control on the food handler, because we know that food handler is a very critical person, because even though the food can being controlled very good in a very good term from farm to the kilang, but at the end of the day, if the food handler too, the one who touch the food, who deal directly or indirectly with the food tu yang can cause cross contamination, then it's a big problem lah, sebab they are the one who will be the last person who will be contact with that food before it being transport to consumer kan. So that's why food handler ni is very important lah to be controlled. So we need the information on the health examination, so they have to be conducting medical checkup lah before they become a food handler. This one I think you all know kan. You have to have the vaccination of anti-typhoid and then practice a good handling. So they have to check lah by regularly the practices of their food handler. So maybe they would do some like checking spot check kan. So they wear any accessories ke ataupun tak pakai proper pakaian kan. So that's the activity that they need to conduct in their manufacturing processing kan, processing. Okay, and then of course the personal hygiene lah, they have to ensure that the food handlers in the manufacturer too apply food hygiene, the personal hygiene correctly. So we know that kan, you can't wear accessories, you have to wear clothes that only used in that processing area. Okay, and then you have to maybe remove your dirty shoes, all those things lah. So all those personal hygiene, or if you are not well kan, so you have to take break from the work. So for that it won't cause any contamination to the foods from unhealthy workers as well. Okay, and then of course the company need to have the training. So as mentioned just now, food handler training, and then we need the record kan. Okay, and then maintenance and sanitation is very important. This is the element that we need as well in the mesti requirement. So the floor conditions, the lights, the wall tu kena lights ni there's some information that the minimum lux of lights tu pun they have to be complied. And then because sometimes kalau lampu tu tak cukup lux dia tu, so that area will be in the dark. So sometimes if there's some issue on the food or in the equipment that will be used directly to the food tu kan, kalau gelap, so it can cause maybe some terlepas pandang ke ataupun anything yang boleh menyebabkan contamination kepada makanan. Okay, drainage tu kalau drainage tu susah untuk dicuci, susah untuk dibersihkan juga, boleh menyebabkan berlakunya contamination kat situ lah. Surrounding, sanitation, pest control as well as the waste management. Okay, next please. And other than that also they need to control of the operation lah. So raw material control. So dekat kilang tu nanti we need to check as well during the reception of the raw ingredient ataupun packaging kan, how they control that receiving area tu, the cleanliness of the area, and then is there any checking on that raw material as well, because sometimes kan there's a physical checking in the during the receiving of the raw ingredient. And then we also want to know how actually they ensure the raw material that being supplied to them too is actually comply with our regulation as well. So that's how we want to see the raw material control in the manufacturer. Okay, other than that, process control lah, hazard control if there's hazard in the food that being produced dekat kilang tu, so how actually they control the hazard. And then of course we want to know the standard conformance lah based on our regulation, because in our regulation we do have standard for each food item too, so whether they have complied with our standard or not. So that's one of the checklist that we will check during the audit for mesti. Okay, and then packaging control as well. Packaging is very important, as same as similar to the raw material control. Okay, so the material too of course need to be the one who are not cause any migration to the foods kan, and then the area that we store the packaging also need to be controlled. So because we know that packaging is very important because this is the one that will be touch our food for packaging later on kan. So if they are not safe, then that will be cause some issue lah on food safety later. Okay, and then other than that, of course, labeling lah. So because under Food Act also we are controlling the labeling of the food that being sold in Malaysia. Okay, other than that, the storage control. So also will because if you are not doing the right storage control, definitely it can cause safety issue later, kan? So we check the system, how they do the FIFO, first in first out, because we can't, you know that the food kan, especially the perishable one too, you can't keep it at a very long time. So that's why we need to know the system that being used, the method that being used to berasingan ke. Sometimes kan we do have a few sensitive material, raw material, so we need to separate the storage of those material compared to the other one yang not so sensitive too. We can store it a bit in a different area lah. Okay, so segregation. Alright, so and then other than that, the element of transport and distribution control as well. So the cleanliness of transport. Okay, so transport ni pun important because even though kita punya produk tu dah being sealed, dah being packing kan, but still kalau transport tu tak in a good condition, macam temperature abuse ataupun dia pack terlalu berat menyebabkan the packing tu nanti boleh stack tu kan, dia macam boleh break the packaging kan. So itu kan boleh contribute to the food safety issue later on. So that's why we need to see the control on the transport and distribution as well. Alright, and other than that is the traceability control. So this is the, I think, 10 element of checklist that being checked, for the mesti certification. This is the minimum requirement that we need in order to ensure the food being produced is safe in this manufacturer or in this factory. Okay, next please. Okay, so the benefit of mesti certification. So of course you will fulfilling the requirement state by the food hygiene regulation. So this is the minimum requirement with the branding lah. So kind of you comply with the food safety assurance program under the food hygiene regulation with certification. So mesti is quite well known now. So everyone start looking for it lah in order to see whether the food is safe or not, especially for the SME product lah. Okay, so of course the company will receiving coaching from Ministry of Health. It's a free, so we will facilitate them in order to produce the manual of this mesti, because documented kan, just now documented process. So we will help them to produce this document and help them to implement this mesti punya element tadi before they apply to us for the certification. And of course the benefit of the certification as well, once the company has this mesti, it can give them fast track lah for other food assurance certification with easy access. That means if they want to apply for GMP, HACCP as well as halal, so it's become easier lah. Because if the other authority tu tengok, oh dah ada mesti dah, so then it's easier for them. Maybe there's a few element that will be skipped lah for the next application, for next other certification tu, so easier for them to apply for next lah. So and of course mesti logo tu can be used lah on the label, as well as it can increase the consumer or customer confidence and trust, because of there's a logo, there's a recommendation from the Ministry of Health that they are practicing minimal requirement by the food hygiene regulation to ensure the safety of the foods. Okay, next please. So that's all for mesti, and I have the second one, the GMP, good manufacturing practices. So this is this process is actually will be based on the Malaysian Standard 1514 2009 GMP for food. So it being implemented 2007 by MOH. So to recognize lah company yang implement the GMP elements and open for food manufacturing with fee imposed. Okay, I mentioned here. So the fee will be imposed based on the different level of the size of size of company. Yeah. So the process will involve the audit of adequacy, so the checking of the document, compliance to the MOH will go to the factory and do some on-site audit as well as monitoring audit lah. All right, next please. So GMP is a set of regulation, codes and guidelines that control the operational condition within a food premises to ensure the production of safe food lah. And GMP is the foundation for the effective HACCP system. What I mean is that in order to apply for HACCP, you have to have GMP. It's a prerequisite requirement in order to apply HACCP. HACCP the premium one kan. After this, I will share with you guys. So in order to get HACCP, you have to have GMP in place. Okay, next please. So this is the GMP elements. More or less, it's just the same with the mesti, but with more detail lah, more detail. I can see that there's a recall here. But they need to establish recall system. What that means is actually the if they have to have a system to react if there's a issue or triggered. I mean, what we call maybe some complaint or comments from customer. So they have to try to conduct mock recall in order to check where is the source of the problem of this issue. Let's say, contohnya they get some comment from this product macam kadang-kadang dalam kotak susu kan, bawah tu macam macam berlendir macam tu kan, macam macam pekat sikit bawah dia susu tu, so ada orang complain. So they have to go back to their to this company, and then they have to check the source of that kotak tu, because they have the traceability system kan. So they have to check which date, which raw material, which processing day yang dia gunakan to produce that kotak yang being complained tadi tu. So if there's a issue and then they found that this line processing during that time maybe ada some issue ataupun some problem during that time, so then they can recall all the batch that produced on the same day on the with the one that being complained tadi tu. So that's the important on why they have the traceability as well as the recall system in place. So that's why it's very important to have all being recorded, all being documented in this quality assurance program ni. Okay. So I won't explain detail on others because I think it's just the same lah. Design and facilities, lepas tu control of operation kan. So and then maintenance, cleaning and sanitation, personal hygiene, health status, personal cleanliness, personal behavior and visitors. So they include the personal hygiene for visitors under the GMP element. So so the company also have to develop lah the procedure in order to control their visitors. But we know that in the factory kan, there's a lot of visitors. Maybe even the auditor from KKM also, they have to treat us as visitors. But because we are also entering the kilang kan, so that's why they have to, when we went into the processing line too, we have to comply lah with their system, whether they incur us to wear the lab coat ke ataupun macam plastik tu apa panggil ada yang PPE kan, so we have to follow that lah because of their procedure in order to control the personal hygiene of everyone, food handler as well as visitors that are entering their premises, in order to ensure the food safety lah. There's no contamination from the outsider. Okay, next please. Okay, so other than that, this is the Malaysian standard, okay, that we are referring to. So the 1514 and the GMP element. Other than that, we also have the transportation, distribution, same kan with the mesti, And then other than that, here we do have for GMP, we need the information and product information, a lot of batch identification, and then labeling, lepas tu training sama, and then internal inspection. This is another different lah between GMP and mesti just now. So internal inspection, we need procedure for internal audit in order to get a GMP certification. So they need to conduct at least once a year internal audit. So in the kilang tu we do have a few units kan. We do have production lah, QA lah, QC lah. So maybe they can cross unit to audit each unit. They can cross to auditor tu from each unit to cross unit in order to conduct this internal audit. For what? It's actually for improvement lah. So before audit by KKM atau by other authorities, so they need to audit themselves and then do some improvement lah. So we will check during the audit as well what is the finding of the internal audit, because we know that sometimes orang dalam kan lebih memahami or lebih mengetahui lah antara mereka berbanding kita ni auditor luar ni. We will base on the day we are going for audit je, so we don't see beyond that. So it's better to have this internal audit for better improvement of their food safety assurance program in the country. That's why internal audit is one of the compulsory element under the GMP. And other than that, this GMP also require management review. So management review ni maksudnya they need to have a session. This GMP team in the manufacturer need to have a session with their management, top management, because sometimes kan top management ni tak duduk kilang pun, they are maybe in the headquarters ke ataupun not the person who are involved directly with kilang, especially kilang besar kan. So they have to have a session with management review in order to report or deliver to them on the issue on regarding food safety lah. So if let's say food safety as well as the GMP certification kan, so let's say they have issue on sanitation or cleaning cleaning in the processing area, certain processing area. So because of the maybe longkang is not well functioned anymore, so we need the support from management ni actually, because the management ni yang akan bagi duit ke, yang buat decision on those pembelian ataupun itulah untuk assign orang untuk baiki tempat tu. So because usually dalam GMP team ni it's a technical team, orang yang buat safety, orang yang produce makanan, so not the person who are responsible on the management ataupun budget kan. So that's why management review is very important, and also the management punya commitment for the company to conduct GMP is also very important. Or else nanti dia tak nak support, especially financially lah. Financially kan sometimes kita nak hantar pergi training tadi kan perlukan duit juga kan. So therefore if we don't get the support from management review, so then from the management, so then it's quite difficult for the company to maintain the GMP in their company, in their factory. Okay, next please. Okay, the benefit of GMP. Okay, simplify obtaining export certificate. So macam saya cakap tadi lah, GMP ni is recognized worldwide. Mesti tak. Okay, so that's why sometimes bila ada certain country yang require GMP, so then easier lah. Ataupun dalam negara kita sendiri ada certain country, bila kita nak export kepada diorang request free sale certificate ataupun GMO certificate. So kalau that company yang minta dekat kita those certificate tu ada GMP, so biasanya kita akan shortenkan day application tu. Maksudnya kalau saya tak ingat the exact time tapi lebih kurang macam kalau tak ada JMP, so mungkin you require 7 hari untuk dapat free sale certificate tu. But then kalau company you dah ada JMP, so mungkin dia shorten jadi 3 hari. So that's what it means lah. And then of course kita sama juga, so dia akan mudahkan juga untuk dapatkan another quality assurance system such as ISO, HACCP and Halal. And of course able to compete with other countries in the global food market sebab GMP being recognised by other country as well worldwide. And then facility industry to gain recognition in dealing with financial agency in incentive or financial assistance. JMP KKM also can be used lah on the product for consumer punya, for promotional purposes as well as for consumer trust ataupun or confidence kan. And of course ensuring the food industry comply with standards both domestically and overseas, because I mentioned just now it's being recognized by worldwide kan. Alright, so next please. Next please. Okay, and the third one is the HACCP. So HACCP implemented 1998. Okay, the premium one lah I mentioned just now, and it based on not the premise but based on the food or the processing. Okay, so this application open to all food premises lah. Okay, untuk manufacturing, food manufacturing. Tapi nowadays kita dah start to have HACCP for dapur hospital. But I think sekarang we started with dapur hospital KKM dulu. Tapi sebab saya dah lama tinggal KKM kan, saya tak tahu kalau dia dah extend to another dapur hospital. But sebelum ni we started to certify dapur hospital for HACCP certification. Okay, next please. So HACCP systematic approach to identify, evaluate and control food safety hazard. So we control the hazard too. That's why HACCP too means that hazard analysis critical control point. So we identify the hazard too. We will control our processing based on hazard in our raw material or in our processing nanti. Okay, so that can cause by biological, chemical or physical agent lah. So each raw material or each processing too, we will analyze the hazard, potential hazard, whether it comes from biological, chemical or physical agents lah. Okay, so this agent, of course, we know that if we didn't control it, it can cause a food safety issue. So that's why in HACCP, we will control each step and each raw material in order to ensure the safe or the food being produced later on. Okay, next please. So objective of HACCP to ensure the food produced is safe and to provide a food safety system in the country, as the HACCP will become a food exporting worldwide recommend. So HACCP also recognized worldwide. Right, next please. Okay, HACCP hazard food contamination spoilage. We want to see the contamination in the food and then find the sources of the cause of the sources. And then after that, we will look into the level of the danger, whether the hazard too can cause it can become harmful to human or not. And then we look into the control how we control those hazard. And after that, we look into the stage for corrective action. Okay, next please. Okay, there's a few hazard elements. It's a bit different between the other two certification just now. So in HACCP, it is compulsory to have the management responsibility. I mean, what we're referring to management responsibility in the manual HACCP itself, the manual HACCP that being produced, they have to mention who are the HACCP coordinator, who are the HACCP team, and they have to list out the competency as well as the training that being attended by all these HACCP team member ni, because to ensure that their competency to conduct, to apply, to implement HACCP in the manufacturer, in the factory. So that's why it is compulsory to have HACCP coordinator. Definitely, if I went to the factory that didn't have the HACCP coordinator, then definitely major what you call major finding or major car lah, because of it's very important to have HACCP coordinator in the HACCP implemented company. All right. So other than that, they have to have the food safety policy as well as the food safety objective, because the certification will be based on the food item kan. So that's why they have the food safety objective ni. Usually they want to achieve zero complaint and then all food comply with regulations. So something yang can be measured, the food safety objective. All right. Other than that, they also have the food product description. What is the material being used, product characteristic, product type, labeling, shelf life, handling, distribution, and they also have to have the information on intended use of the product and the potential consumer abuse. Next, please. And for HACCP, okay, this is the different from the others too, because they have to have the information on process flow diagram. Okay, from the raw material to the end product. So this because as I mentioned just now kan, this HACCP ni will be based on the food as well as the process. So that's why we need this process flow diagram in order to assess lah the processing flow to the information on the critical control point, critical limit, okay, raw material flow, rework sekiranya ada. So that's why this information process flow diagram tu important and need to have to be in the HACCP manual and of prerequisite program, and also they have to have prerequisite program aka GMP. Okay. And then, of course, and for the HACCP system requirement, they need to have HACCP plan. This is compulsory, yeah. So they have to have a validation process and the 7 principle of HACCP. Okay, and then they have to have our internal audit, management review, documentation, records, and HACCP plan summary. I will share with you guys after this about the 7 principles. Okay, and then operation maintenance improvement or HACCP lah. This is a record controlling of non-conformant, traceability, notification, and recalls. Okay, this is, I think just repeating a few tadi lah, ada apa, explain to you guys kan, apa recall, traceability, all those things lah. Right, so next please. Next please. Okay, this is the 7 principle of HACCP. We do have a conduct first hazard analysis, and then identify critical control point, establish critical limits, monitor critical control points, establish corrective action, establish verification procedure, and establish record keeping procedure. Okay, we go one by one. Next, please. Okay, first thing first, I mentioned just now, we need to analyze our hazard. Okay, so let's say in I give you maybe in chili sauce lah. Okay, in chili sauce. Okay, product dia kita imagine chili sauce dalam case ni. So the chili sauce, so from raw material, so we have a few kind, maybe garlic ke, dried chili ke, semua tu. So we have to list all ingredient that will be used in order to produce chili sauce, and all processing from cooking, lepas tu dia maybe dia do some cooking, after that bottling apa semua kan. So we have to list all those raw material as process that involved in producing chili sauce, and after that each process and raw material tu we have to identify possible hazard can cause from that process or raw material. Okay, so macam hazard tu can be biological, chemical or physical lah. So each hazard tu need to be evaluated to see whether dia tu whether it can be prevent, eliminate or control the risk. Okay, I will show you the example after this. Next please. Okay, just maybe just for information kan, why we are doing this, because each hazard tu sometimes it can cause risk pun to us, because maybe it can be eliminated, it can be prevented kan. So that's why we list first all possible hazard that can be caused due to those raw material or processing, and then we will evaluate each hazard to whether it will become a risk or not. Because if it is not a risk to human or to the next processing, then why should we bother? So we can just ignore it, and then we proceed to the next steps. Okay, next please. So okay, after we list all those possible hazard though, so then we identify which actually to critical control point or a high risk punya raw mat ataupun proses lah. Okay, so kita nak tengok whether this hazard ada tak after that any stage ataupun any process yang akan eliminate dia. So kalau dia tak ada yang eliminate dia ataupun boleh control that hazard tu, then kita akan jadikan dia critical control point kita lah. Tapi sekiranya ada proses after this yang boleh eliminate dia, so kita akan bolehlah kita ignore dia di peringkat awal. Contoh dia macamnya kita kata dalam garlic, dalam cili kering tu, kita grind dia. So there's possibility ada contoh batu kita kata kan. Dalam tu sebenarnya kita kata possible hazard dia batu lah. So tapi kita kata after kita grind dia, kita ada satu step yang kita guna sieve ataupun penapis, which is penapis tu boleh remove batu. So bila kita kata ada next step ni yang boleh control this hazard, so then kita boleh ignore lah dia. Kita tak adalah jadikan dia critical control hazard je. So dia maintain dekat hazard sahaja, tapi dia bukan critical control point kita. Okay, alright, next please. So this is contoh example of hazard analysis worksheet. So contoh yang saya bagi kat sini kan, transferring cooked product to container. So this is one of the process lah dalam kita punya processing. So kita kata one of the potential hazard dia, biology dia adalah contamination of microbe such as Bacillus cereus, E. coli atau Salmonella. Kita boleh ada based on literature not simply put the reason why nak include or why nak exclude tu. So tapi dekat sini kita kata kita boleh exclude dia sebab nanti kita boleh eliminate dia through proper personal hygiene. So maksudnya hazard sini dia boleh dikawal. So tiada isu. So and then bila kita calculate dekat sini, dia tunjuk yang severity dia 3, likelihood dia 2, significant ataupun tak. Lepas tu kita kata no lah. Dia ada, sebenarnya kita ada macam satu, saya tak perlu cerita detail kot, tapi kita satu macam decision tree in order to say that dia ni sebenarnya berdasarkan soalan dalam decision tree tu, dia ni sebenarnya bukan pun control point. Dia ni boleh dikawal, so tak perlu control point. So that's why all material, raw mat ataupun proses yang jawapan dia dekat nombor 6 tu yes, then baru kita consider dia as critical control point, and baru dia akan pergi ke principle nombor 3. Or else dia mati dekat sini saja. Stop dekat sini sebab kita tahu dia bukannya sesuatu yang boleh menyebabkan risiko kepada food safety issues atau lepas ni nanti. Sebab dia dah being control dekat awal-awal lagi. Macam tu. Okay? So we go to the bukan principle number 2, principle number 3. Alright, so we go to the next one. Okay, so once we know that this step or this raw material ni is a critical control point, so then we have to establish lah the critical limit. Okay, so kalau kita kata the critical control limit tu, the issue tu adalah contohnya adalah what we call besi, apa panggil? Saya lupa pula term dia. Metal contamination. So kita kata metal contamination disebabkan oleh kita grind chili sauce tadi kan. Kita grind chili kering tadi, dried chili. So there's a possibility of serpihan daripada grinder tu. So ada metal contamination. Contohlah kita kata di metal contamination tu jawapan dia yes kan. So kita kena carilah apa critical limit untuk metal contamination ni. So mungkin kriteria tu boleh jadi mungkin size of ferrous, size of metal contamination yang kita boleh accept dengan kita tak boleh accept. Itulah dia punya critical limit dia. Sama juga macam memasak. Kalau kita punya memasak, suhu memasak tu merupakan critical control point kita. So then temperature itulah yang jadi kita punya critical limits. Maksudnya you have to cook this chili sauce at 80 to 90 degrees C. So this is the critical limit. You have to achieve this 80 to 90 only in order to produce safe chili sauce. Macam tu. So that's how you establish your critical limit in order to achieve the safe of the food that being produced later. Okay, alright. Next please. I will show you guys. Actually, benda ni saya yang jadi auditor pun dia macam ni sikit, dia macam susah sikit nak faham. Tapi nanti saya tunjuk contoh tu mungkin you all boleh nampak dia punya maksud dia yang sebenar lah. Okay, so bila kita dah ada that critical control point, so kita kena monitor lah critical control point kita tu. Macam mana kita nak monitor? What, how, frequency, who. Maksudnya nanti dalam kita punya processing line tu nanti, so kalau macam metal contamination tadi tu, so kita kena tengoklah mungkin setiap pagi kita akan guna metal detector kita, kita akan check nanti metal detector kita punya function, whether dia okey ke tak, betul ke tak nanti macam tu. So siapa yang akan jalankan? Adalah nanti dalam dokumen tu QC yang train sahaja yang perlu jalankan. Frekuensi dia berapa kali? Mungkin pagi dan tengah hari dan petang. So this is all the information that being required to be established lah for the company yang nak dapatkan HACCP certification for each food item that being applied for the certification tau. So kalau tadi kita ada kicap dengan chili sauce, so dua-dua tu we have to conduct this hazard analysis dan juga itulah develop all those critical limit and critical control point tu. Alright, next please. Next please. Okay. So lepas tu bila kita dah ada kita dah ada monitoring on critical limit kita, and then after that, so kan kita kata tadi contoh macam kalau suhu tadi antara 80 sampai 90 kan. So apa akan jadi sekiranya dia deviate daripada 90 ke 80? Maksudnya suhu memasak kita yang kita set konon dekat kita punya kilang tu tiba-tiba tak capai 80 to 90 critical limit yang kita set tu. So if there's a deviation, so then apa yang tindakan yang akan diambil oleh company itu? So that's why they have to document kan apa corrective action yang mereka akan ambil if there's any deviation on their critical control point. Okay, so in order to, because they have to react very fast lah sebab takut nanti dia akan effect on the quality of the food being produced kan, because we said that you have to cook your food between 80 to 19 in order to produce safe food. So kalau you cook below than 18, so there's a possibility nanti you tak kill all the bacteria tu. So there's a possibility nanti ada food spoilage lah, or if dia exceed the limit of 90 tu pula, there's a possibility dia affect macam quality, mungkin the sauce tu become bening ke ataupun macam hitam kan. So dia akan affect any safety ataupun quality issues lah. So that's why if there's any deviation, fast action need to be taken lah by the ni. So that's why they have to document it. So person in charge tu akan tahulah apa yang perlu dibuat sekiranya berlaku deviation. Alright, so next please. And then after that, we do the verification procedure lah. So in order to verify the process, the procedure that being conducted under the HACCP plan ni. So maksudnya contohnya kalau hujung masa nanti, at the end of the day, they send analysis of sample analysis to see lah whether the level of microorganism ke atau anything yang they been controlled in the throughout the HACCP plan tu tercapai lah. So maksudnya kalau dia hantar, dia nak verify, dia kata proses masakan dia tadi tu betul-betul efektif in order to reduce the level of microbe. So they check, okay, hantar makmal for analysis, see that okay, betul, zero level of let's say Bacillus cereus. So then effective lah. So they can say that we already verified our process ni correct way. So that's why the verification procedure is very important. Alright, so next please. And nombor 7. And then establish record keeping lah. Ni memang wajib lah all the way. Untuk tiga-tiga pun mesti GMP as well as the HACCP, record is very important. Alright, so next please. Okay, ni contoh. Tapi saya rasa saya pun tak nampak sebenarnya. So kat sini dia punya contoh tu adalah jangan marah. Okay. So contoh dia dekat sini adalah metal detector kat situ. So dia kata significant hazard dia adalah metal contamination lah. So critical limit yang dia letak dekat situ adalah absence of ferrous yang besar daripada more than 2.5 mm. Manakala untuk non-ferrous pula more than 3.0 mm. So this is the critical limit yang kita letak. So critical limit ni dia boleh jadi ada dua figure in between or more than or less than lah. So it depends on ni lah. So kita tak nak any metal contamination itulah more than 2.5 for ferrous and 3.0 for non-ferrous. So how kita monitor dia? Tu yang kita akan monitor guna metal detector. Okay. So kita akan ada company tu install metal detector dalam processing line. So how dia conduct tu? So dia akan conduct dekat all product must went through the metal detector tu. Before dia masuk, mungkin dia letak ni dekat hujung sekali kan, before packing. So dia letak dekat situlah metal detector tu. So kalau ada any frekuensi dia kata continuously lah, sebab dia kata all product tu must pass through the metal detector kan. So siapa yang akan monitor benda tu? CCP train operator. So andai kata tiba-tiba metal detector tu berbunyi, bermaksud dia detect ada metal contamination of ferrous yang lebih daripada 2.5 ataupun non-ferrous lebih daripada 3 tu dia detect. So maksudnya dia deviation kan. So bila dia ada deviation tu, apa corrective action yang dia perlu buat. Itulah dia punya tu, dia tulis dia akan stop automatically kan. Stop automatically, lepas tu dia kena report lah dekat QA lah, dekat line leader lah semua tu. Okay, so dia akan ambil lah tindakan pembetulan terhadap metal detector tu nanti. So itu yang saya maksudkan tadi tu, steps prinsipal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tu lah. So dia come out with this HACCP plan summary lah. And then verification tu pula, siapa yang akan buat, bila, masa, what, how, and then hujung sekali tu record. So this is how the HACCP plan summary dibangunkan. So this is only one example lah, only for online metal detector. So I believe that all of you are not won't develop this lah, tapi let's say one day being involved in the company yang akan develop HACCP ni, so at least maybe you can have some idea lah what it's all about. Sebab I rasa you won't involve lah. You won't involve in developing this HACCP plan family, but if you do, then at least you have some background lah on this. Okay, alright. Next please. Nak habis dah ni. So the benefit of HACCP lebih kurang sama dengan GMP tadilah. Okay, HACCP HACCP logo can be used on the products. So priority untuk health certificate untuk export, and then made easy to get export certificate lah, such as free sale, GMO certificate, processed meat certificate and others. And they fulfill juga one of the requirement untuk export ke EU. Okay, because EU ni antara country yang sangat susah sikit lah untuk kita export barang makanan kita. So that's why they require HACCP. Usually small country ni they require GMP je. But untuk EU ni they require HACCP lah. Alright, so and then they strengthen and support lah other quality assurance such as ISO and halal, and able to compete with other countries in the global food market, as well as boost customer confidence. Okay, next please. Okay, last one lah. Okay, last one. Yang ni saya asingkan sebab yang ni kita untuk this one is voluntary sebab dalam regulation kita tak ada kata kedai makan or restaurant or you punya term apa food service or hospitality ni perlu ada, wajib ada food safety assurance program. Tapi BKKM come up with initiatives lah untuk encourage this restaurant, cafeteria semua to have this certification to ensure that they are preparing food that are safe, and then yang this one kita combine with healthy, with nutrition. So that's why BEST ni dipanggil BEST bersih, sehat, selamat actually. It's actually kita ada 4 criteria untuk recognition ni. Maintain a clean premises. So clean premises ni dia lebih kurang dengan yang tadilah, all those element in mesti, tapi yang related to kedai makan lah, restoran lah. So they have to have a proper setting up yang akan elakkan cross contamination and then of course they have to provide safe food and then provide healthy food. So healthy ni dia kena put ni kilokalori tu, nutrition labeling tu, bukan nutrition labeling, panggil apa, lupa pula term dia, sebab ni bahagian lain tau, dia bukan bahagian keselamatan dan kualiti makanan. Pelabelan kalori. So they have to put pelabelan kalori kepada makanan yang dihidangkan. Dia adalah syarat dia, kalau berapa jenis menu, berapa banyak yang perlu label sekurang-kurangnya, kalau lebih sangat tu berapa sekurang-kurangnya kena. So dia ada syarat dia. And dia kena pamerkan juga maklumat ataupun mesej makanan sihat. Contohnya satu sudu teh gula sudah cukup, ataupun saranan pengambilan kalori makanan sehari. So this one actually kita bahagian keselamatan kualiti makanan work with bahagian pemakanan di Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia to offer this best certification kepada pada nilah food premises ataupun hospitality ataupun food service lah. Alright, and then of course they have to prepare the food tu ikut ni right size of dishes. Kan kalau ikut nutrition kan dia orang kena kalau ni tu berapa gram je, berapa kilokalori je sehari. So they have to follow that requirement lah, which is kat food safety kita tak ikut lah yang tu. Kita janji kita selamat kan. Okay, so next please. Okay, ni macam some ni lah infografik untuk berkaitan BEST ni. Next please. Faedah pengiktirafan, of course lah kita nak bantu pengusaha premis makanan kita, which is premis makanan yang berkaitan dengan itulah penyediaan makanan directly kepada consumer kan, kedai makan, kafe, food truck semua tu, untuk mematuhilah keperluan perundangan di bawah Patuan Perundangan Kebersihan Makanan 2009. And then diorang juga untuk BEST ni sama macam mesti kita bagi coaching ataupun bimbingan teknikal secara percuma. And of course kalau dah ada BEST ni akan meningkatkan keyakinan pengguna lah terhadap perkhidmatan makanan, and sijil logo dan pengiktirafan BEST ni akan diberikan secara percuma lah bagi premis makanan yang mendapat pengiktirafan. Okay, next please. Okay, ni just sharing with you guys. Boleh tak playkan video tu?
Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia ada menyediakan pengiktirafan BEST untuk premis makanan. Pengiktirafan BEST adalah inisiatif bagi menggalakkan pengusaha premis makanan untuk memastikan premisnya sentiasa bersih, makanan yang disediakan selamat dan mempunyai pilihan makanan yang lebih sihat kepada pelanggan. Cuba tengok Ahmad. Dia merupakan pengusaha restoran yang mementingkan kualiti makanan di kedainya. Semua elemen BEST ada di restorannya. Dia telah dibimbing oleh Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia dan premisnya diberikan pengiktirafan BEST yang sah selama 3 tahun. Semuanya diperolehi secara percuma. Selain restoran seperti Ahmad, jenis premis yang layak mendapat pengiktirafan BEST adalah seperti gerai makan, kafeteria, kantin, penjaja, catering dan kenderaan makanan bergerak seperti food truck. Bagi memastikan Ahmad sentiasa mematuhi elemen-elemen pengiktirafan BEST, pemantauan akan dilaksanakan secara berkala. Sejak mendapat pengiktirafan BEST, keyakinan pengguna terhadap restoran Ahmad semakin meningkat. Pengusaha di luar sana ingin menjadi seperti Ahmad? Permohonan boleh dilakukan dengan menghubungi Ibu Pejabat Bahagian Keselamatan dan Kualiti Makanan, Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia atau di Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri Berhampiran atau layari fsq.moh.gov.my. Anda pula sebagai pengguna yang bijak, pilihlah kedai yang ada logo BEST. Ada BEST, barulah BEST.
Okay. Saya rasa slide saya dah habis Tak ada dah kan? After tu ada lagi ke satu slide? Oh, thank you dah. So, with that, I end my presentation. Thank you for staying with me. Saya harap ilmu yang you all dapat hari ini bermanfaat. Okay, so if there's any question, I pass to ni moderator for Q&A session. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Ms. Hidayah, for your sharing. That's so informative. I am sure our audience learned a lot from you today. At this juncture, we will go ahead for question times. Everyone join this live can ask questions that related to our topic at the comment section below. Alright, Ms. Hidayah, seems like you have a few questions from our audience. The first question is from Madam Sarah. The question is, do hospitality industry need quality assurance programs?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Sarah, for the question. So as of now, in the food hygiene regulation, only the food manufacturing only that require wajib to have this quality assurance program. However, for the hospitality industry, definitely you have to comply with all minimum requirement that we stated in the food hygiene regulation. And as I mentioned just now, we do have the BEST certification, which is the voluntarily for the hospitality industry to apply for the recognition from the Ministry of Health in order to prepare the bersih, sehat and selamat food item. Okay, but in answering your question, no, as of now, only for the food manufacturing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hidayah, for the answer. All right, next question is from Hadi Zakwai. If the restaurant does not implement pest control until cockroaches and rats can be seen anywhere, what action can be taken?
Okay, you can actually contact. It's better to have the evidence actually, because sometimes kan rat ni dia lari laju, so we can't take a photo. But it's good actually if you have the evidence to bring with you, and you can go to the nearest pejabat kesihatan daerah or Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri to do a complaint, ataupun you can make a aduan for them to go to that restaurant to do the to do the inspection based on the aduan that being reported by yourself tu. Okay, so it's good actually for you to because you know that uh, as a Ministry of Health, we can't go to all factory or kedai makan all the time. So that's why it's good actually for the customer or consumer to be the eyes of the food safety, and then give some information or aduan to us so that we can go directly to do the inspection, and if there's a necessary, take some action lah for that aduan, based on the aduan tu. Okay.
Alright, last but not least, the last question from Adlina Zarifa. How can we give some advice to the people who don't understand hygiene, especially the ones selling on the street, such as night market?
How can we give some advice? Oh, okay. How can I give some advice to the people who don't understand food hygiene? Actually, for the food handlers ni kan, so actually they have the responsibility actually to apply the knowledge, attitude and practices in food safety, but somehow they reluctant to do it. Not only on pasar malam lah, dekat sometimes in restaurant or in the cafe pun there's person who are reluctant to practice the food hygiene ni. What we can do? This question is actually, if I am authority, of course I can take action lah. But if you are a normal person, just macam customer lah kan, so maybe you can just say lah, makcik, janganlah pakai tangan ambil makanan tu. Cakap macam tu lah, makcik kotornya macam tu. So just cakap secara casual, leisure macam tu lah. Takkanlah awak nak sekolahkan makcik tu pula kan. So you can buat teguran secara bersahaja, sebab tak nak pula nanti that teguran tu cause awak ni pula, kau siapa memandai-mandai pula nak tegur aku ni, macam tu lah. Tapi saya percaya kita still boleh macam as a customer, sebab kita have the rights kan. Kalau kita rasa they are not practicing a good hygiene practices, pergilah kedai lain. Sebab buat lalu je, kotor lah kedai ni, kita pergi kedai sana lah. Terasa makcik tu nanti tu. So it's kind of teguran jugalah sebenarnya kan. So it depends on siapa kita semasa menegur tu nanti juga. Okay. Ada lagi soalan?
Alright, thank you Miss Hidayah for answering the question very clearly. So dear audience, time is very jealous with us. So with the end of the question answered just now, then the session is over. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your question just now. With the end of the question, it ends my session today. Therefore, I pass this to the host Farah. I would like to say thank you to Miss Hidayah for your great sharing. I would like to say sorry if there was a bad language or something like that when I was your moderator. Thanks to panel and all the attendees who are still with us this evening.
Thank you, Zafira, for being great moderator today. And not forget to our dearest panel, Ms. Hidayah, for your sharing. I will use your input to my studies and in my life after this. I would like to say thank you so much to Ms. Hidayah for your willingness to share knowledge and information useful to all of us present today. Expected to all who join can take a good and prevent what should be to overcome the problem faced. In addition, don't forget to dearest participant who spent time throughout the program. Your presence is great. We appreciate. We apologize for any mistake done by us. As the organizer of the program this time, to all students present, you are requested fill out QR code for registration and KI form or borang KI before leaving this YouTube live to get an e-certificate from the organizer. Thanks again for joining us today. And reminder for all the winner for prizes, please contact us for claiming for the keys. See you next time and may Allah bless you all. As the mark of memory, we, the organizer, would like to take a photo with Miss Hidayah for the last time in this program.